We're joined now by the great Tim Watts of BamaOnline. And Tim, as the snap was coming on 4th and goal from the 31, what was going through your mind?
I'm old. I don't know what goes through my mind in those moments anymore, but I was just watching. I'm a nervous watcher when I watch games or any of my teams when they're in crunch situations. I was smoking a cigar on my back porch, and I was actually raking or brooming the leaves off that my wife never does. And I was just standing there. I was shocked. When they, the pass is completed, and I was thinking like, man, Jalen sure looks like he's looking for something. This isn't a Hail Mary. This isn't a bunch, 3 receivers to the right, and he's tossing it up. He's looking like he's trying to find something. And when that ball went in the corner, and I saw one-on-one, and it happened so fast, but I saw it was one-on-one. Knew Isaiah's a really good athlete, but to catch it, and I have to give major props to Isaiah Bond. This guy was a track guy 2 years ago, right? That was the kid be a receiver, and that's a professional catch. The slide.
Yeah, that's an NFL touchdown. He got both feet in.
Cleared space, the hole pushed off. No, his arm was being held. He cleared space, body block, 2 hands, 2 feet, cradled to the ground, which was also important, and also a great throw. So, Jordan-Hare, that's something else, isn't it? When Alabama's in town,
it is unbelievable. And I've always said there are days at Jordan-Hare where it doesn't matter who comes in, you're gonna have a problem. Like the 2017, which is a year that they also beat Alabama in the Iron Bowl, but that Georgia team that ended up playing Alabama for the national title comes in. They were number 1 in the country, and they got blown out. And that's one of those days where you heard the stadium roar when the home team came on the field, and it was like, nope, it doesn't matter how good Georgia is, they're losing today. Yeah. And it felt like that way for Alabama for most of that game. It felt like even when they would catch a break, then the snap sails past Jalen Milroe.
It was an emotional roller coaster. And when you look at the setup was terrible for Alabama. If you think Auburn loses and gets routed by New Mexico State, the visual was terrible walking in there. And then you come out, you're 7-0. Offense looked great. You're 14-0. You get a hold. You get a shaky punt, and then it's 7-7. And momentum is on the road, especially. That's like at Kentucky. You remember, and even they went down and took control, but when they had that turnover, gave them a little life. It was more of a game because those fans, if you're Auburn fans, it's a great crowd. I mean, that's a great environment. It's always been that way. And you leave them in that game, and they're gonna fight. They're gonna be there till the end.
So now Alabama, which we thought they would be because we thought they were going to beat Auburn, but it took a miracle to do it. But now Alabama is the ultimate agent of chaos in the college football playoff. What's interesting with Alabama is not that they don't need to do anything but win. But if they win, they're going to make the playoff, and it just drops a firecracker in with everybody else.
Absolutely. I mean, you think the committee, I know I'm not saying they're biased, but they have to be rooting for Georgia, right?
Oh,
they have to want that to make it simplistic. You know what I mean? Because if Bama wins, you got the Florida State situation with the quarterback out. You've got Oregon and Washington probably going to swap losses against each other. Michigan soundly in. You leave Alabama
Texas sitting there with a win against Alabama, which that makes it even more complicated. Yeah,
it blows my mind to even think that Georgia could be out with a loss because I still find it hard to believe Georgia's not a top 4 team. Alabama could be out after beating a team, riding a 30-whatever game win streak. That blows my mind. Somehow Texas could be out at Florida. There's never been a better case. I'll tell you this. I think if you take the 4 teams who don't make the Final Four and make their own little Final Four, I was talking about with Travis Reier this morning on BOL, and make an NIT-type tournament, I think it'll every bit rival the people watching as the NCAA version of it.
That would be a lot of fun, actually. The next 4
Ohio
tournament.
State? Yeah, Ohio State would be in it.
Well, and this next year will be a 12-team playoff. What Alabama will be playing for in this situation is it's interesting because the stakes of this game next year would be the winner of Georgia-Alabama gets a bye. They're both in.
Mm-hmm.
And then the question, like if Alabama lost, the question would be, does Alabama go on the road first round?
Yeah.
Or do they finish 8th and get a home game? There's a lot of layers to the next version of this, but this version of this is so interesting. Like the Texas piece of it, I think, Tim, if Alabama beats Georgia and Texas beats Oklahoma State, they're both Alabama and Texas are both getting in because the Alabama I think you have to put Alabama in at that point, and you cannot put Alabama in without Texas one spot above them.
Yeah, that's kind of what they've established at this point. But again, blows my mind to think Georgia could be out. Blows my mind to think Alabama could be out with a win. FSU's in the, clearly would have probably been in with an undefeated season in the quarterback. How do you adjust for that? Struggle a little bit, obviously struggled against a Florida team that's not that good. So, I think right now it's good to be Michigan,
Yeah.
You're good. You feel
Play
good
in Iowa.
Yeah.
So you're feeling safe.
Hey,
yeah.
I feel good if I'm Michigan. I feel pretty good if I'm Oregon, right? You got, you
Just
probably
win.
Yeah. You probably win and get in. You're a 10-point favorite, which is crazy. But other than that, there's a lot of people sitting here on the edge of their seats, and I love it. I'll be honest. I love we're discussing. I know there's very good chance there's something frustrating happening. There's going to be some mad people, I'm guessing, on this Final Four, but I'm here for it. I do think maybe jumping from 4 teams to 12 was a little bit extreme. I don't know how they skipped 8, but I just feel like you should learn as you go, and 8, because you're not going from 12 to 8 later on.
No.
And most years, how many years has there ever been 8 good teams worthy? It's hard to find 4 good teams.
This year might be that year because Ohio State may be the 8th, and they can probably compete with everybody else.
I agree.
On a given day.
This is the year, but most years we're talking about 4 teams, and we're saying 2 teams are the best, and then 1 team's okay, and then please let us play the other team in the first round.
You're not thinking like a TV programmer, Tim. Because what you want is some exciting games in that first round that lead to exciting second round games, and then after that, let the cream rise at that point. But
the schedule for the SEC, it's a blessing for them to go to 12 teams because you're going to be really hard to go undefeated with that schedule. I was looking at Alabama's schedules actually. Georgia's opening with Clemson. Alabama's got a crazy schedule. Billy Napier,
Texas
Florida's
and Michigan open together.
That's what I'm saying. You're probably not. So, you go from – there's going to be some 2-loss teams in the top 12. This year you'd be talking about Ole Miss, right?
We'd be talking about Ole Miss or Missouri or both would make the playoff.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When you get to that level, so I'm all about more football, but I'm wondering if we're not going to end up with more games in the season than the NFL at some point.
So all these conference championship games this weekend will tell us who makes the college football playoff. And I know what you're thinking. These things must have been sold out forever. How could I possibly get in? You can get in with GameTime. You want to go see Alabama play Georgia at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta? You can do that. You can do it for a little over $300 right now on GameTime. Do you want to see Oregon and Washington in the Pac-12 championship game at Allegiant Stadium in Vegas? You can get in there for less than $50 right now on GameTime. It is truly amazing. The easiest and best way to get last-minute tickets. Use the code STAPLES, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. So you download the GameTime app. You search for the event you want. You take a look at the ticket. It's going to show you exactly where your vantage point would be in the stadium. A couple more clicks, and you are done. You've got your tickets. If you want to transfer them on game day, you can do that via text. And the price is the price. No haggling in front of the stadium. No looking for a person holding 2 tickets up or 3 tickets up in their hands. No, you get it on GameTime. You know you've got your tickets. You know you're going to your event. Works the same way for concerts, comedy shows, you name it. So download that GameTime app. Use the code STAPLES. $20 off your first purchase. The FCS, I believe, is 2014 playoff now, so we'll see. I think 12 would. Let's do 12 for a little while before we move on.
Hey, I'm at the point. Let's just do 64 and make it like the NCAA March Madness. Let them earn it. Let them earn it.
Those poor guys. We sit there in the middle of February, like, okay, we're going to the national championship game. We're ready to go.
You can't tell me you wouldn't love to see a football fan base, celebrating. They're in the Sweet 16.
Oh my God!
Just hanging that. Hey, what about hanging that banner the first time? How much ridicule are you catching for that?
Well, shoot, Tim, you're looking at it from the Bama perspective. There's plenty of schools that are going to be thrilled to hang that we got in the 12-team playoff banner. So, but they don't feel that way at Alabama. They feel like they play for championships, and they are playing for one on Saturday, Tim. against a Georgia team that will be the best team they've played all year. How do you think these guys match up?
I think it's like it's always been. I mean, you look at the games they've played, no matter who won, they've been incredible matchups, especially since Kirby Smart's been there. I mean, they're kind of mirror programs when you look at it. I mean, it's not surprising. They recruit the same type of players. They kind of run the same type of system. Alabama's offense has been a little advanced, and Georgia's certainly catching up. They're more of a passing team than a running team to me this year, which I never really thought I'd say, but I said the same thing about Alabama. So kind of that mirror image of each other. A lot of crossover. You got coaches, you got players, and every game, there's no reason to think this isn't going to be a good game because every game so far has been fantastic.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to matter the circumstances since Kirby got to Georgia. It does feel like these programs are just on the same level, and maybe nobody else is on their level. I guess we'll find out once the playoff starts this year. But yeah, that's the part. The way Alabama's evolved this year, if we'd have been having this conversation maybe after the Ole Miss game, I don't know that I would have given Alabama much of a chance in this game. But now I look at it and think, you know what? If Milroe can take care of the ball, and when a running opportunity presents itself, keep the chains moving, this could be a really fun game.
Yeah, I don't think this is the kind of guy I don't think Kirby Smart or Nick Saban like to play against in the Jalen Milroe. I mean, you play the guys that have the plays that are unexpected. The LSU quarterback's a prime example of that. That's not an offense he's running. He's pulling and tucking. I mean, he's running. Yep. He's doing a lot of things. You can't plan for a guy to scramble 85 yards for a touchdown, 52 yards for a touchdown. Now, Jalen has that ability for Alabama. Carson Beck's a little bit more of a drop-back passer, obviously, doesn't run as much. But really, when you're looking – I feel like Carson Beck's glow-up hasn't really got the attention you probably expected it to because, Jaden at LSU's been so good and Jalen at Alabama's been so good. But Carson Beck and Jalen Milroe got a little dual and banjos things here from sitting and waiting, getting their chance to shine, and both having really good years.
Well, and we've only actually seen like a game and a half of mostly healthy Ladd McConkey and mostly healthy Brock Bowers on the field at the same time. And that game and a half is terrifying if you're a defensive coordinator because it feels like Georgia can kill you in any way it wants when it has all of the offensive weapons on the field.
Yeah, I think this game's a little bit of a flip for me because I think the biggest matchup is Alabama's defense versus Georgia's offense. And I don't think we've ever even came close to saying that, right? It's usually been lately, the Georgia defense versus the Alabama offense. But I think Alabama's defense for them has to set the tone here. They've got to limit the big plays. I don't think you're going to shut out Brock Bowers because they get him the ball behind the line of scrimmage. They get him a ball in a lot of ways. It's not like he's just running routes. So I think you just got to hope to contain him, the old cliche. You got to control the running game and not give up big plays. And Alabama's defense has been pretty steady about that, not giving up the big play.
Yeah, and hope that no new hero emerges. I mean, I like the Ole Miss Georgia game, Dylan Bell, like you realize, oh my God, this guy can do everything. And you hadn't seen him do that much of this season. So that's the other piece of it is with Georgia, there's a lot of pick your poison going on there. But with Alabama, the Milroe thing, you make such a great point about how he can create unexpected yards. And it's funny because everybody's killing Hugh Freeze for rushing 2. But one of the reasons you rush 2 is because if you rush 4 or 5 and Jalen Milroe slips the pocket, there's fewer guys sitting on the goal line to tackle him. Like if you rush 4 or 5, Jalen Milroe might run for a 31-yard touchdown. Now, what we saw was more miraculous.
And we've said this several times on this show. Milroe's a big boy running down the field. You don't necessarily feel like you don't necessarily like it if you're a defensive back. You're smaller than Milroe. You're smaller than Milroe, and he's running full steam ahead. That's a big kid. So, yeah, I see what you're saying. I think on any play like that, I mean, they're going to criticize. If he'd have rushed 4, they'd have caught a scene. Yeah. What if they'd caught a scene with Isaiah Bond, who's fast as grease lightning? I mean, we've seen those plays be successful other ways. I think you like your chances with everybody in the goal line, and it was very weird. And also the play had to be perfect. Playing the devil's advocate for Auburn's fan, it took a perfect play to beat you because, first of all, he threw to the edge, and he was sort of leaning in to the end zone. So he threw him open.
Yeah. Tiny window to throw that ball into. and a great catch. And this is the thing that makes what is going to happen Saturday so much fun. A lot of offenses, they can only beat you a certain way. Alabama's offense just showed you they can beat you in a bunch of different ways, including that way. Georgia's offense, we know, can beat you in a ton of ways. We don't know how this is going to play out. We just know both of these teams have great players who can do a lot of things and make it look different when they need to adapt to whatever's getting thrown at them. I can't wait. I cannot wait, Tim, for this game.
That's how I am. I mean, you got this game. It's kind of fitting to end this year before we go to the crazy 12-person playoff and everything else. It's going to change. I mean, this bowl game, I mean, SEC championship game is always going to be something. But if you're already in the playoffs, you've already locked up a seed, a top four by whatever the situation would be, you might not be as interested in this game as in the past. But
you can't get the bye without it. So I think you probably still be somewhat interested.
But there is some relief knowing you're in, because look, Georgia doesn't even know if they're in if they lose. So this isn't like the scenario a couple of years ago Bama beat them in the SEC championship game, and Georgia was in no matter what. We knew it. So there wasn't that. There's urgency on both sides of this game. Bama has no chance with the loss, and Georgia's not a guarantee with the loss. So you're right. How do you not? If you love college sports and love competition, is there any other game you'd have rather seen in the SEC championship this year?
No, sir. No, sir. I'm going to Atlanta. I cannot wait. And we're going to talk about it afterward. I guarantee you, Tim.
You didn't call me after that Sunday. I guess you figured I was hoarse or passed out or something.
I saw those Alabama reaction videos, and I wasn't sure if you were one of those people. And because I figured none of those people were sober when they got up Sunday morning either.
I was all of those people. I wasn't one of them. I was feeling everything they felt.
Oh, it was tremendous. Tim,
I was
thank you so
sober
much.
to make it worse.
Well, that'll make you feel drunk.
Well, I had a nicotine high. Yeah, I had a nicotine high and no alcohol. So I had some stuff going on.
All right. Tim Watts, thank you so much.
Appreciate it, Andy. Anytime, brother.
Thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, subscribe to this channel right here so you never miss an episode of Andy Staples On 3. And oh, by the way, watch all the other great videos on the On3 Sports YouTube channel.